Maybe tonight. Is she coming over for Thanksgiving?
Oscar was a 12-year-old boy still attending school. He and his close friend, Charlie, had just returned to their hometown after some time away. Besides being intelligent and sharp-minded, Oscar was also known for his good looks, something that didn't go unnoticed. Many girls were attracted to him, including Miranda, one of the prettiest girls at their school. However, Oscar paid her little attention. Even when Miranda approached him with a friendly greeting and tried to strike up a conversation, he remained aloof, uninterested in the typical charms of his peers. What truly excited Oscar was getting back to his parents' apartment. There was a sense of anticipation, almost like someone special was waiting for him. That afternoon, his father was hosting a small celebration, marking both a personal achievement and the return of his beloved son. When Oscar arrived, the apartment was already buzzing with guests, mostly his mother's old friends. Among them was Diane, a longtime confidant of his mother. There was also a younger woman named Daphne, who, judging by her glances, clearly had a soft spot for Oscar. The event officially began with a speech from Oscar's father. But Oscar wasn't paying much attention to the words. He was eagerly waiting for someone else, his stepmother, Eve. Ever since his parents divorced and his father remarried, Oscar had been quietly captivated by Eve. She wasn't a teenage crush or a fleeting schoolyard romance. Eve was a mature woman in her 40s, graceful, intelligent, and composed. To Oscar, she wasn't just beautiful, she was ideal. No one knew it, but Oscar harbored deep feelings for her. In his young heart, he believed that within Eve, there was still an unfilled space that he could one day occupy. Although they weren't related by blood, the two shared a cordial and open relationship. They communicated well, and Eve often praised Oscar for his intellect and curiosity. Their conversations were thoughtful, sometimes even deep, and Oscar could easily keep up with her. Thanks to Diane, who had been Eve's friend for decades, Oscar also had a clearer window into Eve's personality and world. Later that evening, Oscar found himself wanting more time with Eve. He felt their brief interaction at the gathering wasn't enough. But just as he was hoping for more, his father insisted it was time to head home. It was getting late. Oscar reluctantly obeyed, though his heart wasn't ready to part ways with Eve. She had seemed genuinely pleased to see him again, and that short walk together lingered in his thoughts long after it ended. Frustrated and restless, Oscar hailed a taxi. He entered the destination into the app and slumped into the back seat. In his haze, he didn't realize Daphne had seen him leave and was left disappointed. Unaware of the emotional trail he was leaving behind, Oscar stopped at a minibar to calm his nerves. What started as a quick drink turned into a few too many. Before he knew it, Oscar was stumbling along the street, visibly intoxicated. By a stroke of luck, Diane happened to pass by and recognized him. Concerned, she brought him to her house to sober up. Diane, known for her healing hands and kind heart, gave Oscar a massage to help him relax. But Oscar, still half drunk, behaved inappropriately. He tried to seduce Diane. The situation was awkward and quickly spiraled out of control. Oscar rushed to leave, but was spotted by Diane's boyfriend, Phil, as he exited the room. Fortunately, Phil didn't suspect anything. He assumed Oscar had simply received one of Diane's therapeutic massages. Before leaving, Oscar begged Diane to keep what had happened a secret from his father and Eve. Diane hesitantly agreed, but she was clearly rattled by the situation. When Oscar returned home the next morning, his father was immediately suspicious. Oscar was never one to stay out so late. Pressed for an explanation, Oscar lied and said he had spent the night at his friend Miranda's house. But when his father asked more about Miranda, Oscar insulted her, calling her shallow and foolish. His father scolded him, reminding him that women are not to be belittled, they are to be respected. Without women, a man's life would feel incomplete. Oscar silently took the reprimand, his mind still fixed on Eve. His fascination with her only deepened. In his daydreams, he imagined them together, walking hand in hand, laughing, sharing meals. He longed to create a life with her, no matter how impossible it seemed. That afternoon, he paid Eve a surprise visit at her workplace. She was a specialist in internal medicine and was busy studying cardiac structures. Oscar brought her lunch, catching her off guard. Still, she appreciated the gesture. They spoke about the human heart, both literally and perhaps metaphorically. Oscar, as usual, managed to keep up with her medically nuanced conversation. Just then, his father called. He mentioned they would all have dinner together that evening, and that Diane would be joining them too. Alarmed by the idea of seeing Diane again so soon, Oscar rushed to a cafe where she was relaxing with her friends. He pleaded with her not to say anything that might expose their secret. Diane was hesitant, but invited him to sit and talk. To Oscar's surprise, her friends took a liking to him. One of them even hinted she'd like to get to know him better someday. As Oscar continued to bottle up the truth, it became too heavy to carry. He finally confided in Charlie, his best friend. But Charlie was horrified. The idea of being in love with a stepmother? To Charlie, it was unthinkable, crazy even. Still, Oscar was determined to make an impression. That evening, he altered his appearance, adding a scar-like mark to his cheek to seem tougher, more manly. But Eve didn't react the way he'd hoped. She noticed the change, but showed no particular interest. Meanwhile, Diane was clearly intoxicated at dinner. When Oscar and Eve both excused themselves to use the restroom, Diane pulled Oscar aside and kissed him unexpectedly. She whispered that everything would be okay. What neither of them knew was that Oscar's father had seen the kiss through the reflection in a mirror. Later, Oscar, unable to hold back anymore, confessed everything. His feelings for Eve, what had happened with Diane, and the chaos stirring inside him. His father and Eve were stunned. But surprisingly, they didn't lash out. They realized Oscar was growing up, facing complicated emotions beyond his control. Later, Diane spoke privately with Eve, admitting the full story. She didn't feel proud of what had happened and regretted it. She questioned why Oscar had to be the one. Why not someone else? Eve was left with mixed emotions. Though disappointed, she understood Diane's position. Eve loved Oscar's father, but couldn't deny how emotionally distant he had become in recent years. In the days that followed, Oscar became quiet and withdrawn. Even Jimmy, the apartment's doorman, noticed his gloomy demeanor. Sensing it was about love, Jimmy told him that everyone eventually experiences heartache. Without love, life feels empty. Oscar appreciated the advice, though his heart remained heavy. Eventually, he gathered the courage to speak to Eve again. He admitted that what happened with Diane was a mistake, and that his feelings for Eve were sincere. She was speechless, but touched. Though she couldn't return his love, she respected his honesty and maturity. A few weeks later, it was time for Oscar to return to school. Before he left, Eve apologized for not being the stepmother he deserved. She reassured him that her love for his father remained strong, and that she hoped Oscar would find someone who truly loved him in return. Oscar, in turn, realized that while he couldn't have Eve, his journey was far from over. His story of love, real love, was only just beginning. And with that, the film comes to an end.